All right. Beautiful day. Great practice. First of all, let me just say that Bryce will be starting this week. So he took the reps with the ones today, and Andy is progressing. He was out there throwing, and I just really looked at all of the things, and for me, I just erred on the side of caution, and wanted to get Andy in the best possible situation to be able to make a decision going forward. And also, I'm excited for Bryce to have an opportunity to build off some of the things that he did last week. Certainly things to work on, but a lot of good stuff that he did too. So, and then again, I know we'll have questions about it, but we'll take all the information in from this week and then go forward and make the next best decision for the team.
What were those things that you would say you were most encouraged by with Bryce yesterday that you want to see him continue to build on?
Yeah, on Sunday, just some of the rhythmic throws. First drive, just kind of finding a good mix and balance of it. For me, again, this is an opportunity to compete, to continue to find the things that he's confident with. He found some nice completions, throughout here and there, and then finished with a really nice drive that I thought was, obviously the game was out of hand, but at the same time, we were competing, to find wins in those moments. And, I just thought that was, good stuff. And then, to have the continuity of 1 week to the next, getting in and out of the huddle, and to feel that rhythm, that it takes to be successful. So I'm excited for him to get out there and have another opportunity.
What's the plan for Jonathan Brooks?
Full week. So we got to look at him the full week. Again, Jonathan first, thinking about him, making sure that he's confident and ready to go. So we're going to stack up a few more days here before we make that decision.
Dave, what do you think? Why do you think Deontay Johnson will work out here long term?
Dan, Brant, and I just kind of, talked about the different opportunities that came up, and we just kind of collected all the information and made the best decision for all of us.
How does this help maybe the development of some of the younger guys in the room?
Yeah, it's certainly an opportunity for those guys to be able to play and have the experience, So, we expect nothing less from them.
Dave, how important is it to have guys like Thielen and also David Moore in that room to help those young guys along, since they've seen it from a lot of different directions?
It's huge. It's huge for those guys to, it's the things that happen from the time you get up, from the time you come into the building, before practice, body readiness, mental readiness, all those things. The attention to detail and focus it requires to have success in this league. Those guys are huge examples for that group.
Could you expand on the decision a little bit, Dave? Because I think some people are confused why you would trade the leading receiver for what ended up not being a huge return.
Joe, I'm not going to get into too much of the specifics. A lot of those conversations we always want to try to protect and keep in-house. But, we kind of just collectively thought that was the best decision for us.
Dave, can you talk about the functionality? You talk about the rhythm of the offense, and there were times that, delayed game penalties, that sort of thing, and I think you kind of addressed it Monday. But between then and now, what's been kind of the focus to kind of get the play into Bryce, get it called, get to the line with 10 seconds on the play clock as opposed to 4?
Yeah, it's all those things, right? It's for myself being decisive about what personnel I want out there, the communication from the coaches, getting the call into Bryce, Bryce handling the information, getting it to our players who need to hear the full call. It's the whole process. And it was a challenging environment, too. It was loud. And, I got to do a better job of making sure I crank up the jet noise in practice when we're playing on the road, and make it harder so that it's like nonverbal and you're really close and everyone's in tuned. I got to be stricter about the play clocks in practice, make sure we're pushing those things, the walkthroughs including. All those things are ways to just keep pushing the envelope so that guys don't relax, that guys reload play to play, and able to get up, get lined up, and be functional that way.
And then following up on that, is there something to be said about the confidence of the quarterback in Bryce? Because it was a tough start, obviously. He gets thrust back in last week. And, is he assuming enough command of the huddle in your eyes to make those calls confidently and get things going?
I would just say coming back, playing for your first time, you got to get your legs underneath you, hear the calls, be fluid with all those things. All those things take time, and those are the things that we're just really hammering this week and making sure that we take a step forward as a group.
I apologize if you can ask this, but
yes.
Is it the expectation that Bryce will be the starter for the rest of the season?
Bryce will be starting this week. We'll collect all the information over the week with Andy, with Bryce, how he plays this week, and then we'll make another decision next week.
Dave, who in the room can get down the field and make big plays in place of Deontay in your mind?
I think you saw some of the guys do it, right? Xavier, Jalen stretching the field. David, just because I've had him before, I know what he can do in that regard. Mingo's big and fast. You know, there's an element of him being able to do things and stretch the field. Devin Tompkins, the guy that we used in different ways, took some shots last year with him. Thielen, you know, go back to the Raiders game, you know, we get him healthy and back out there. These guys all have ability, you know, and I think that it's about just finding the right mix and the right style of plays to be able to attack defenses with.
The last outing against the Saints didn't go well, to say the least. What do you feel like you guys are better prepared for with this time around with playing now?
Yeah, just more football under our belt in our system, you know, and just coming down to execution, you know, finding those completions and then making sure we're attacking their coverages the right way. This is a challenging defense. Whether they're in single high or they're in their two shell stuff, they match things. They challenge you. They're going to force you to be accurate. They're going to force receivers to try to create separation, and that's something that we have to just work on from a technique standpoint. I feel great about the design so far. We got a couple more days to put it together to try to, you know, attack them in those ways.
Dave, you referenced Bryce's last drive and that the game was out of hand. How do you evaluate, what are you looking for when the defense maybe is playing a little bit softer in terms of this was a successful drive?
Just rhythmic throwing and catching. I'm looking for the execution of the receivers, running their routes with precision, you know, being where they're supposed to be, the quarterback throwing on time. Certainly it all starts up front with the protection and all that, but and sometimes it's ugly and you just got to find a win, and that's what happened. We found some cool, you know, he got to some good tool belt stuff to get us some first downs. We played with a little bit of tempo. They executed the things that we've practiced a ton, and so that was encouraging for me.
You said you wanted to err on the side of caution, Andy, but
Yeah.
you listed as a full
Yeah.
participant today. So did this have more to do with giving Bryce another chance?
It really was me taking the decision out of Andy's hands. If you were to, you know, ask Andy, like, can you go? He would tell you yes. And for me, it's like, he's a week removed, you know, from a thumb injury, and I just wanted to make sure that we're putting him back out there in the right state, in the right framework. And I'm excited for Bryce, you know, to have another opportunity to build on the things that we've talked about, to, you know, continue to just grow and get that experience that we talked about is invaluable, to be on the field, to be calling the plays and doing it. So
He did particularly well against man coverage. How has he grown against, I guess, that sort of coverage over the last, you know, 6 or so weeks that he's been behind the scenes?
I mean, I don't know specifically. You know, he's got all those throws. You know, we've seen all those throws throughout the time through training camp and different things, and he just, you know, came up with some nice throws in the game. So, looking for him to take the next step this week.
Will Andy be the backup?
He will this week.
Dave, we saw Jalen kind of have a little bit of a breakout game this past weekend. I'm just curious, from your vantage point, why do you think he went undrafted, and what did you guys see that you liked that kind of allowed you to identify, you know, kind of a diamond in the rough with him?
I would say small school. I would say he ran a good 40 time. You know, a lot of times when you come from a small school, they look at the production, but they look at all the measurables. He's got great size, but he didn't run a 4.3, but he's fast. He's shown it. You know, he's separating on NFL fields. That's not easy to do. So we have to look at the challenges of winning against NFL players outside in the slot, and to do it with the consistency that he has over the last couple of games is awesome. And so now the challenge for Jalen is to continue to improve his fundamentals, improve the details of the routes, improve the details of the splits, all the things that really help to make a pass game go. But what we've saw from him is that when he gets opportunities, he makes the most of them.
What was it like for you guys when you went through that window with him where you cut him and he cleared waivers,
Yeah.
knowing what he could potentially do if he came back?
Yeah, I mean, excitement, you know, it's a gamble always, you know, and I think that in every team, in every locker room, you go through training camp, and a lot of times you have more information than the rest of the league does, you know, but to be able to put the group of guys that we did together and to have Jalen develop and to see him, you know, attack practices, you know, making plays in practice, showing us, give me a chance. You know, I love seeing that hunger from the guys. The practice squad guys all got to take notice of that. You're not just out here to just run plays for the offense or the defense. You're out here to show us that you're hungry for an opportunity to get on the field, and he certainly did that.
Dave,
What was that?
Who's Jalen remind you of? Anybody you've seen in the past?
A bunch of different guys. I probably would start with Jermaine Kearse because I spent the most time with him. You know, he was an undrafted player out of University of Washington in Seattle, had a great career for us. And, you know, he had that hunger and he just kept making plays when they came to him. And pretty soon he was one of our starting guys and played that way for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. So kind of a little bit of that story. And just like the chip on his shoulder, the hunger, the size, the ability. So I think probably.
We'll do Alex, and then we'll do Jeff, and then we'll do Steve, and then we'll wrap it up.
Dave, on the defensive side, DJ Wanham was a full participant today. How's he looking?
He looks awesome. Yeah, and we just have to make sure that he's ready to handle the full volume, you know, of a game, you know, and it's like how much can he handle? What's his capacity? And so those are all the questions, you know, for him coming back from that injury is when is he going to be game ready? But he certainly looked really good today.
Is it a physical thing with him? Is it also an understanding of the defense schematically, maybe? Or?
He's a really conscientious guy. Takes great notes. He's been in a similar system, and so he's a guy that brings a lot of experience that way. And so I think this is more just a physical thing to make sure that, you know, he's fully strong. Can you handle the volume of a regular game? So.
Hey, Coach, this is your first trade deadline. How are you handling the extra distractions, and what are you learning from the process? Yeah, really just leaning on Dan and Brant so I can focus on the football part of it, you know, with my staff and work through those things, and then, you know, just pop in and we're in constant conversation. They're just kind of giving me, you know, updates of, you know, what could happen, what might happen, all those things that I just have to be like, okay, great, just fill me in on any other information. So I feel great about just having those guys, you know, taking all that and then kind of, you know, giving me the information.
Dave,
Last one.
to follow up on Joe's question from earlier, I mean,
Yeah.
with Deontay in his past, and he had some issues up in Pittsburgh, and you guys were aware of those. I mean, were any of those issues, did you feel any of those issues contributed to this decision?
Those are all things that I'm going to keep, you know, in-house and stuff that just kind of deal with player to player. So hope you guys can respect that part of it.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.